In the last video, we looked at voicing two horns in thirds. In this video, we're going to focus on the interval of a sixth. Now, in a way, it's related to a third because when you voice something in a third and then transpose one of them by an octave, you end up with the interval of a sixth. So they're related. Nonetheless, we're going to focus on sixths in this one. So here's a fresh set of examples. Here's a little disco thing. And the chords are A minor, C, A minor, and then F and G, a 4-bar pattern repeated twice. And I've voiced the lead line here on trumpet, and then a tenor part, a sixth lower. So let's just look at it for a moment at the trumpet alone. And here it is. I'll play it for you just with this lead line. So it's a kind of typical disco part, and I've used the articulation switching to get a nice fall on these long notes and then used staccato or short samples on the others. Now let's look at the two parts together. So here's the trumpet and tenor, and we can see here that this is a C and this is an E, a sixth lower, and similarly continues throughout. So let's listen to this. So that's a pretty typical type of disco groove and part, and sixths are one way to approach voicing something like that. Let's look at the next example. This is the same chord pattern, and I've created a different type of part, but the exact same groove tempo and parts other than the brass. And here I'm using the Session Horns Pro sax and trombone. So here I'm doing the alto lead and the trombone voiced lower by a sixth, which is a little bit of an unusual combination, but unusual is not bad. So again, let's look and listen to the alto sax part on its own. So again, I've combined short notes with long ones here, and here I've done a swell on the long notes rather than a fall, and it's a slightly different part, of course. So now let's look and listen to both of them together, and again, E, and then here we're at a G lower. So we're in a bit of a lower range here, and we're using alto, which is a bit lower than trumpet naturally, so it falls better for an alto sax when we're working in this range. There's C, and then there's an E underneath there. So we'll listen to that in sixths. So that's another example of voicing in sixths. Now, I'm going to close this up and go to the next example, and I've done something interesting here to illustrate the power of doubling. And here what I've got is the trumpet doing a lead part and the tenor sax doing a harmony part voiced a sixth lower, and that's a pretty common instrument doubling, tenor and trumpet. And then I've repeated the phrase a second time, and I've doubled that lead part on the alto, so the alto and trumpet are playing the lead, and then the harmonized part is being played by the tenor and the trombone. So we've got 4 horns playing, but it's still only a 2-note voicing. So let's start by just listening to the trumpet line alone, and let's just look at it and listen. And here this is just on one chord. It's a B-flat 7 throughout. So that's it. I'm doing a little kind of, I call it a climb up when we go to the 7 and then, or flat 7, 7, and then root. Kind of a James Brown style thing where we climb up like that, and then I'm doing a fall on these long notes. But the whole thing is one B-flat 7 chord. So let's open this all up and look at it all together, and we'll hear it, just the two of them the first time, and then each of those parts doubled the second time. And now doubled. So very effective. Again, here's the F, and then we're going down to an A flat below. There's the A flat, and there's a C, A, and then C sharp. And even though that's not only non-chord tone, but non-key or scale tone, it's okay. It's kind of a passing tone, passing up to the strong downbeat here, which is the root, and the third, which is very strong. So that's a nice, interesting way of voicing in sixths and then doubling. So again, that's the trumpet and then tenor, and then when the alto comes in, these two are playing the same part, and then these two are playing the same part. Let's listen one more time. So the doubling really adds weight to it. Now, here's an example on the score. You can see that when the doubling comes in, we have the tenor and the trombone playing an octave apart. So we're doubling the parts, but we're also doubling by an octave. So that adds more kind of gravitas to it. Now, here's one final example, a little bit of a slower, shuffly kind of feel. And here I have alto sax and tenor sax, which is a common grouping when you're using just two wind instruments to have alto and tenor. It's often tenor and trumpet or alto and trumpet. But alto and tenor is not unusual. And I'm doing the same thing here where I'm having the alto play the melody. The tenor is a sixth lower, and then I'm doubling both. I'm going to double the alto on trumpet, and then I'm going to double the tenor on the trombone part. So again, not an uncommon grouping of four brass playing together. So let's start by looking and listening to just this principal lead line on the alto sax. And the chords here are simple B flat, G minor, and then E flat and F. Now let me mute the doubled over here. There we go. So there I have that swell happening on the long note. The rest are just standard articulations. So let's close that up. I'll unmute the others, and we're going to hear it first with the tenor harmonizing and then trumpet doubling the alto and trombone doubling the tenor. So, of course, you hear a dramatic difference when the parts are being doubled. So, again, just typical voicing in sixths. Here's the B flat, there's a D, there's an A, there's a C, there's a G, there's a B flat. Nothing that's unusual there, straight sixths. And then the doubling, which adds the weight. There we have the alto and trumpet playing the same part, and the tenor and trombone playing another. In this case, in the same octave, I have the trombone playing higher here. So that's an idea of how you can approach voicing horns in sixths, and we'll continue with more in the next video.